Hey guys, this is Kate with Extreme Health Radio, and this is the official how to make an enema, coffee enema video that people have been asking me about in the community. We have a great community of people that have written in and wondered exactly how I make them. There are a bunch of resources online. I'm definitely not the only way to make a coffee enema, but this is how I do it, so I will explain. So why is the coffee good for detoxing? So there's regular water enemas that really work to just clear you out, but the coffee itself really stimulates the liver, which produces the bile, which helps eliminate toxins. So this is just all about getting really, really clean in your liver and allowing the liver to really excrete a bunch of that stuff where stuff stores up. And I know I've used them, seems like a million times on my journey when I've really needed to detox. So what we're gonna do is we are going to grab 1 liter. And by the way, this makes 2 enemas if you can do a whole bag. Justin and I think you and I, we kind of do them in whatever feels right that day. Sometimes we add more water and dilute them, but this is good for 2 full enema bags if you're gonna do it by the book. So what you do is 1 liter or 4 cups of distilled water. Just make sure it's distilled. And we're gonna pour it into our pot, sorry. And by the way, this is just a demonstration. We don't use this pot, but we didn't have a big enough one to show you guys. We ordered one from Ceramcore, which we use for all our other stuff. And usually we use a different pot, but it's not, we're using it for chicken stock right now. So anyway, we're gonna throw this batch away because it has Teflon and stuff, but this is just to show you guys what we do. And then you put this to a boil. So we're gonna put that to a boil and come back in a second. Okay guys, so now we waited a few minutes, the water was brought to a boil. So this is what you do. You wanna take your boiling water, distilled water, off of the stove for a second, because I guess if you put all your coffee in, apparently I've never done this, it can like blow back at you and kind of get wild. Yeah. So we're gonna put this over here for a second, and then we are going to add, okay, this is the coffee brand we use, S.A. Wilson's Organic, really good coffee. We'll put a link below, link to all the stuff we talk about if you guys are interested in ordering. This is the best one we have yet to find. But you wanna make sure you use organic of some kind, if not S.A. Wilson's. So actually, if you want to pan in on this too, it's really cool. It looks like nuts. Looks like ground nuts. It's kind of a green-brown color, which I think is really interesting because whoever sees coffee in its natural form and state like that. So then you take a tablespoon and you're going to put 6 tablespoons of this coffee into the distilled water. So we'll add that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what you guys are going to do is you're going to put the stove down to a medium before you put the, probably down to like a level 5 if you have an electric, before you put the coffee back on so it doesn't get all crazy. So let's let that sit for a second. Then we'll put that back in. I don't know if a lot of people do this or not, but I kind of give it a stir. Usually with a wooden spoon, but I wasn't prepared, so I just give it a little stir. Now, when that's boiling, you're gonna bring that, let that come up to a boil. You're gonna put it back on high. Let it boil for about 2 to 3 minutes. So we're gonna let that boil up and we'll come right back. All right, guys, now that you have this boiling, it's been about 3 minutes. What you're gonna do is you're going to turn it down to low and kind of simmer this and put the lid on and let it simmer now and just do its thing for 15 minutes. So 37, so we're gonna wait 15 minutes and then come back and I'll show you what to do from there. As far as boiling coffee, why we do it this way versus the coffee maker, Justin and I have come to the understanding that when you boil, it actually extracts the oils different than it does when you put it through a coffee maker. It just kind of filters through the water. And this actually draws out the oils, which draw out the toxins and make it a lot more of a usable substance. So that's our reasoning for doing it this way, and we'll give it 15 minutes and then we'll meet you guys back here. Okay, so now we have the coffee simmered for 15 minutes on low, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here and, whoo, be careful when you reach over like that, it's really steamy. We have a cheesecloth bag. You can buy it as a bag online, you can cinch it up and use it for other things, but if you just buy the regular cheesecloth itself at a fabric store, you can kind of make your own if you prefer. But we like to put it into something non-plastic when we strain it. Then the coffee kind of looks a little disrupted and crazy when you finish with this. And then you slowly pour it through the cheesecloth. Ah! Try not to do that. So there's, you know, you can leave actually most of the coffee. I usually leave most of the coffee grounds in there. You don't want any of the grounds making it through. So you can see as you pull this out, the grounds are pretty much there, and then you get the pure coffee liquid down there. So that's how you get the coffee out, and then we usually store it in an airtight glass container in the refrigerator. So we'll clean that up later. That's a lot of fun. But what we do after this goes into an airtight container is the whole goal of putting the coffee into an enema bag. This is the one I use. Justin likes to use a little bucket that you can get. You can get them at most pharmacies and probably health food stores too. But so what we're going to do is I'll show you how to mix the ratio of the water to coffee, and then we'll throw it in this. So give me a second. I'll transfer that into a glass jar, and we'll get going. Okay, guys, so now that we have everything ready to go, I'll just show you. Justin likes to use, he's got a little J on his bucket. Isn't that cute? He likes to use this sort of a bucket. I think we got it off of Amazon. It's really inexpensive. I think it costs a couple dollars, probably. $5. If you can learn how to unravel it here. Anyway, he prefers this kind of a bucket that you kind of hang, or you could set it on a shelf in the bathroom or the toilet even, as long as it's above your body. And then he likes this style. You always want to make sure you put the clamp in before you put the coffee in there, though. Yes. I prefer the old school, grandma style hot water bottle. I'll show you guys how. But okay, so when you have the coffee all done, we also have distilled water over here. You're going to want to do 8 ounces of this coffee mixture that we just made. So that's 1 cup. And I already have 2 cups, so 16 ounces of water. So 1 cup of the coffee to 2 cups of the distilled water, and I'm going to throw it in there, and that becomes your enema. So a total of 24 ounces. Then what you do is you take this mixture and pour it into this water bottle. We're not going to do it because we're not going to use this. But you pour it all in there, and then this one has an attachment. You just screw that in. Pretty good. And then make sure again that this clasp is completely shut, because it will leak when you turn this upside down. It will come out the hose.
And you have the attachment there.
Yes, but before we do that, we use this coconut oil, any kind of natural lubricant, just a little, and make sure you get it really good on the tip there. And then you can attach that right in there. Comes off really easy to clean, so when you're done, you just take this thing right back out and then wash it really good with soap and warm water. Obviously a good soap, not like a toxic soap. And then you go off and do your enema. That is pretty much how you do the coffee for the enema. I'm not going to show you how to do the enema, but the basic process is you take your bucket or your bag or whatever you want into the bathroom. Justin and I lay down a bunch of really soft towels on top of our 2 bath mats put on top of each other. So it's really comfy. And then we each like to use a pillow to put our head on. And what you do is you read the directions on the enema bottle, or online if there's other resources, how to insert this tube to let the coffee in at your desired rate, because it can be a little overwhelming sometimes to let it in too fast or too warm.
And you want it drained to get the gas bubbles out of the...
Right.
Out of the tube.
Out of the tube. Yeah. So when you have the coffee, good call. When you have the coffee in here, when you first lay down, I always, like over the bathtub, kind of open this clasp and let all the air get out and see some water coming out, coffee, before you readjust and then go and insert the tube.
Because otherwise you'll have air going in you, and then that makes it hard to hold.
Right, which actually is really hard to hold.
Yeah.
So yeah, once you get the enema in there, you delicately obviously take it out and then turn over onto your right side and kind of pull up your knees a little. And I take books, my iPod, just anything to kind of pass the time. It actually becomes really, really, I think, a soothing process, don't you? Mm-hmm. You kind of look forward to it. I read a whole book, actually, from the year that I did enemas last year. I did them all the time, almost every day. And I actually will post a link to a picture, if you guys are interested, on our site, if it's not already there, to what happened during one of my enema experiences with coffee. It was pretty wild. But yeah, you hold that then up there for 10 to 15 minutes. I like to bring a clock in with me. It might become so relaxing, you might actually fall asleep, so you might want to set a timer. And then when the timer goes off or the clock is up, then you make your way to the toilet, expel all the coffee, and that will come right out, and maybe other things. You never know what kind of little creatures might be living in there. And then I think you're pretty much good to go. I would stick around, personally, I would stick around a toilet for the next hour, because you think it's all out, and then like 15 minutes after, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the restroom again, and you go, and just more comes out. I find for about an hour, I'd stick around the house to be safe, and then after that, you're pretty good to go. Drink a lot of water.
And does it matter the temperature of the water? You want it warm, right?
Does it matter the temperature of the water? Yeah, you want it warm. If you've just made the coffee like we did, it's actually like really nice temperature. You can kind of tell by putting your finger in there, and it just should be like a lukewarm to medium warm. You don't want to get too hot. It could scald your insides. So the reason, I mean, this coffee is still piping hot because it's right off the stove. But when you put the distilled water at room temperature, it really negates any like boiling effect. So just make sure, use your brain, even pour a little in a cup, stick your finger in it. If your finger's comfortable in the water, kind of like how you test an old baby bottle on your wrist, if it's comfortable in there and it just feels like it's the temp of your body, that's what you're shooting for. So yeah, don't scald yourself. Don't put boiling hot coffee or water anywhere close in an enema bag up your insides. And you don't want it cold either, because that can also shock your system, and anything cold just does not feel good going in. So
restricts the muscles.
It really restricts the muscles. You're not going to release the toxins. It's not going to, help to make the experience very pleasurable. So I think.
How often should people do them, do you think?
How often do I do them? I took a little break for a while, but for a while there, a good year, I was doing it every other day for about a year. Okay. People do them every day. Online, you can read about people who are recovering from serious disease and stuff, and they can do them up to like 5-6 times a day. I know the Gerson protocol calls for a lot of enemas as well as a lot of juices, so it just depends on your particular situation. So I would, always work with your health practitioner or your doctor and whatever they advise you to do or not do. But I generally think this is a really healthy thing that I've added into my lifestyle to really get a lot of toxins out. I have seen a ton of yellow goop come out after you dispel the coffee enema the first time. The next few times you go to the restroom, sometimes it's just, it's disgusting, but it's just yellow goop that looks like honey coming out. So I know that can't be good. I've read online 1,000 million places that actually is toxins and what it looks like. So if that's what it looks like, I'd rather have it out than in. And I just don't have, a lot of things don't make me squeamish, so I'm fine talking about it, but hopefully it doesn't disgust anybody.
We did a show with Dr. Patrick Vickers.
We did do a show with Dr. Patrick Vickers. He's over the border. We'll put a link to that. And you guys can listen more about the enemas and the importance of enemas and why coffee and all that. So. And
I do mine in 3 8-ounce. That's why I like to see it. I do 3 in chunks.
So Justin does his, in case you couldn't hear that, in 3 chunks of 8 ounces each. So why do you do it that way?
Because I can't hold 24 ounces.
Right.
So I'll do it, I can only hold 8.
Yeah.
And I try to hold it for at least 10, 12 minutes each.
Yeah, sometimes it is really hard. I get that is really good to mention, because I can't hold this much. I could near the end of the year, but for the first 6 months, I split this into 2s. Justin split it into 3, but I would do it, put the whole thing in here, let half of it in, sit for 10 minutes, expel it, and then put the other half in, let it sit there and expel it. I don't know if that's actually proper to get your liver to release. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to all be up there completely for that time to actually expel the most toxins. But, if your bladder can't hold it and you're only going to hold it for 4 minutes versus 15 or 10 or 15, I think it's personally better to do it in stages, and as long as you're getting your liver and your bile stimulated. So.
Because the total amount of time should be, I think, 15 minutes?
10 to 15, whatever you're comfortable with. That's the protocol, total time.
Cool.
So yeah, hope you guys learned something. Hopefully, I know it seems a bit daunting, but it becomes really, really, the more you do it, the more routine it is, and it's really easy. So anyway, we would love if you guys want to subscribe. Maggie's loving this. Subscribe to our YouTube. What do you want? Do you want to come up here? Come here. She loves to be in these videos. Come here. You can say bye. You can say bye. If you guys can subscribe to the channel up here, we would love to show you. If Maggie doesn't, can you hear me still? If Maggie doesn't destroy my microphone. Yeah, subscribe up here if you hit the Extreme Health Radio round symbol button, and you guys can keep up to date with everything else we're doing video-wise. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope your enema experiences are as great as ours have been, and I would love if you wanted to leave a comment below. And again, we'll put links to the things we talked about. So thanks, guys. Happy enemas, and I will talk to you later.